All right, today we are diving into a really wild idea from one of our sources. It poses a pretty extraordinary question. What if Japan secretly won World War II? We're going to break down exactly how they supposedly pulled this off and what, according to this source, it means for all of us today. So let's just kick things off with this central question, right? What if Japan never actually lost the war? What if, instead, they managed to pull off a victory so total, so complete, that they could actually convince the entire world they were defeated? It's a huge claim, so let's see how the source material says it all went down. Okay, so first things first. Part one of this whole theory revolves around a secret military victory. The source claims Japan wasn't just fighting a war of attrition. No, they were setting a massive trap in the Pacific, and at the heart of it was a game-changing weapon that nobody saw coming. And this is where things get kinda sci-fi. According to this narrative, Japan unleashed the world's first ever smart weapons. We're talking radio-controlled planes, drones, basically, packed to the brim with explosives. They were guided first by pilots in other planes, and then for the final strike, by surfaced submarines. The result, supposedly? A 100% success rate against enemy battleships. Just like that, the entire opposing navy was made obsolete, forcing an immediate surrender. But see, winning on the battlefield, that was just step one. The source argues that the next phase was the real masterstroke, a massive global campaign of deception. Because to truly take control, they had to make everyone believe they had lost. And here's the absolute core of that deception. The source claims that atomic weapons are a myth. They don't exist. What the world saw over Hiroshima and Nagasaki wasn't some new superweapon, it was just really extensive carpet bombing. And that iconic mushroom cloud footage, according to this, it was nothing more than Hollywood-style special effects. Clever film tricks to sell the world on a lie. So why on earth would they go to all that trouble? Well, this quote from the source lays out the strategy. It was all a giant psychological operation, a psyop. By inventing the myth of the atomic bomb, the hidden victors could control the entire planet through fear, all while their real power stayed completely in the shadows. This whole psyop was allegedly built on top of a very real surrender, just not the one we read about in history class. The source claims Japanese agents had infiltrated the US government so deeply and so effectively that America's leadership had no other choice. They had to surrender, and they had to do it in secret. A quick, silent checkmate. So, with America secretly under control, the next battlefield wasn't military at all, it was cultural. This source describes a decades-long plan to socially engineer the American population, to weaken it slowly from the inside out. And this wasn't random, it was supposedly a phased attack. In the 80s, movies like The Karate Kid were allegedly used as propaganda to push Japanese superiority, while the first Nintendo was introduced to cause seizures. Then in the 90s, TV shows were used to normalize and promote mediocrity, and by the 2000s, it got even more direct, with cartoons like Pokémon allegedly being deployed with dark themes and flashing lights specifically to harm children. But the cultural stuff, that was just softening the target. The source claims that the real weapons of this secret war are the everyday things we all use, things you probably have in your house right now. It apparently all began with consumer electronics. The source says that every major Japanese electronic product was, in reality, a piece of military hardware in disguise. From the first Sony Trinitron TVs to the Walkman, and eventually to the cell phone, which is described as the single greatest mind manipulation weapon ever created, a weapon in every single pocket. And it just keeps going. The source makes this incredible claim that modern car headlights are literally a weapon system. They're supposedly designed with special conical shapes to focus light like a laser beam. And the goal? To cause retina damage, mess with sleep patterns, and even trigger heart attacks. The long-term plan, it says, is to weaken the enemy's eyesight so badly they can't effectively use the drone warfare interfaces of the future. From there, the claims get even more disturbing, moving into full-scale biological warfare. The source alleges that vaporizer devices are laced with lead, that the tap water and food supply are intentionally drugged with pharmaceuticals, and that estrogenic compounds are added to everything to create a feminizing effect on males, basically to stop future enemy soldiers from ever being a threat. So, what is the point of all this? Where does it all lead? Well, according to the source, all these different threads, the military deception, the cultural programming, the hidden weapons in our homes, they all weave together into one final, terrifying endgame. and that endgame is total subjugation. The source claims that in this new world order, America isn't a country anymore. It's a resource. And it uses this chilling, unforgettable phrase, a meat locker, a place where the population is harvested for the good of the hidden empire. And this worldview, this entire operation, is supposedly summed up by this one alleged slogan. It's a brutal philosophy where the conquered aren't even seen as people anymore. They're just livestock, a resource to be consumed. So, who are these conquerors? The source doesn't point to the government you see on TV. It calls them the Invisible Empire, a true superpower that's hidden away, embedded deep underground and inside mountains. Their leaders are totally anonymous, and their military personnel are raised from birth entirely underground, a secret force that secretly runs the entire planet. And that's where this whole narrative leaves us, with this one big lingering question. You know, in a world of hidden empires and covert weapons disguised as everyday objects, how could anyone ever really know who's truly in control?